Hey, Msi Gs70 here, and today I'm talking about the top 4 best laptops for graphic designers. And I'm not just going to give you the top 4 and bail. I'm going to tell you why these laptops are the ones that I chose. They're going to give you the best power and specs in order to take care of any graphic design challenge you can throw their way. Coming at you. Thanks for tuning in today, and if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, I highly recommend doing so. I put out videos 6 days a week about graphic design, motivation, tips, tutorials, as well as data and research about how to maximize your potential as a creative and graphic designer in your field. Also, if you like this content, hit the like button. If you have any questions, comment below. Now, as I'm going through this video, you can check out any of the details about the laptops or gear in the description below. There'll be some links for you to take in order to check out the laptops I'm speaking about specifically. Those are affiliate links, and they do help out this channel, which I'm very grateful for. Now, let's jump over to the content. I'm a quality snob, so I want my computer to run fast, be extra durable, and also look great. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the RAM. You want to have at least 16 gigs of RAM when you're working with a computer in the graphic design industry. The reason being, when you're working with Adobe, Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign, a lot of times you're using all those programs at the same time. The more RAM you have, the more the computer is able to spread out that workload across the memory of the computer. I personally run 32 gigs of RAM in my Dell Xps 15, which I just upgraded to from a Macbook Pro 15. So 32 gigs of RAM is my choice, but you can definitely get away with 16 gigs. Next, we're looking at the processor. To get an i7 processor is going to be a really good pick for you. You can get away with the i5, that's what I had on my previous MacBook Pro, and it worked very well. But I recommend staying up to date with the times, and the i7 is currently the standard within a lot of laptops today. The one I recommend is to run the i7 quad core, and that's in all 4 of the laptop recommendations to come. Alright, now talking hard drives. You want to make sure that you have a solid state, either as simply a bootable part of the laptop or the entire laptop itself. When I'm talking about the solid state hard drive being the bootable platform, what I mean is all of your applications are loaded onto the solid state. That way they run smoother. Whereas all your memory, images, files are all stored on the regular SATA RPM driven hard drive. So I recommend a solid state across the whole platform, but a lot of times to cut cost, manufacturers will run an SATA for your files and memory, and then they'll run a solid state for your applications. So it's just what you're willing to spend and how you want your computer to be configured. And lastly, I want to talk about the graphics processing unit. This is something that I was really concerned about when getting a new laptop for myself because I'm doing a lot of video editing, and the graphics processing unit will help speed up that process. I recommend at least a GTX 1050. What I noticed when compared to my MacBook Pro to now my new Dell Xps 15 with the GTX 1050 is I can export a 5 to 7 minute video in about 5 to 7 minutes. Whereas when I had the old MacBook Pro, it would take 15 to 20 minutes to export that same video. So the graphics processing unit will help speed up exporting and rendering times. Now that we've talked about what makes a graphic design computer great, I'm going to show you my top 4 recommendations of graphic design laptops. Number 1 would be a computer that I just personally acquired, and that's the Dell Xps 15. It has an aluminum top and bottom, as well as carbon fiber interior. It features a 4K screen, GTX 1050 graphics processing unit, 32 gigs of RAM, 512 gig hard drive, and i7 quad core processor. This computer is truly decked out, and I find it an extremely good computer, even though I come from a Mac background. I used a MacBook Pro for about 8 years in my bachelor and master's degree, but I saw that I needed better video editing capabilities, so I decided to transition over the Dell XPS 15. Now, talking about Macs, no computer lineup would be complete without an Apple product, and that Apple product is the MacBook Pro 15. This computer is really well suited for graphic designers. As I said, I used this computer for over 8 years, and it never let me down until recently. But computers get old and they wear out, and I needed to upgrade. This computer comes outfitted with a 512 gig hard drive, a Radeon 570 graphics processing unit, an i7 quad core, and 16 gigs of RAM. Now, another reason I swayed away from getting another Mac product is their constant desire to simplify things. As much as I want simplicity in my life, I really like the option of having an USB, Thunderbolt, SD card, and just a few more options than only Thunderbolt ports. That's another reason I decided to move over to the Dell products rather than stick with Apple. That and a 4K screen for video editing is pretty fantastic on the Dell. If you're interested in the debate between Mac or Windows computers, you can check out a video I've made in the YouTube cards or in the description below. And I talk about the differences between a Mac product and a Windows product and what the benefits, pros and cons are between the two. Oh, and a side note about the MacBook Pro is all the components are now soldered into the motherboard. So you can't change the RAM, you can't change the graphics processing unit or the internal processor. So you're kind of stuck with whatever you purchase. That's why I'm preferring the Windows platforms, because they're far more customizable. But if you want to be a Mac user, this is the computer for you. Now, let's take a look at the MSI Gs70, a fantastic computer in the lineup for graphic design computers. This computer comes with the GTX 1070 graphics processing unit, so it'd be a great collaboration for graphic design and video editing. Also comes with 32 gigs of RAM and an i7 processor. The one thing that's different about this computer from the Dell XPS 15 is that it has a 512 solid-state bootable drive and a 1TB SATA 5400 RPM drive. So that's where they're going to have a little bit of money savings by splitting up the platform. So it's a great computer, but just know that that option is within the specs. I know I said that this was for computers, but let me throw out a 4B. If you're wanting to have a larger screen for your graphic design needs, I recommend the GE73 by MSI. Very similar specs to the GS63, but you're going to have a 17-inch HD screen. So that is a great option, and as always, you can check that out in the description below to see if that's a computer that's right for you. Now, moving on to the budget computer for graphic designers. This is the HP Omen. Now, before I proceed, you may be wondering why I didn't pick the MacBook as the budget computer. Well, the MacBook as a standard is not as powerful as something like the HP. So it only comes with an 8 gig RAM. It only comes with an M3 dual-core processor. It only comes with 128 gigs of hard drive. So the power is missing. Yes, it has build quality. Yes, it is an Apple product and they make great products. But if you're looking for a budget computer that can handle what you throw at it within your graphic design, I'd recommend the HP Omen. It has an i7 quad-core processor, a GTX 1050 graphics processing unit, an i7 quad-core, and it has 512 gigs of solid-state hard drive as well as 1 terabyte of SATA 7200 RPM standard hard drive. So it's just maxed out. It allows you to get more for your money, and that's really what I want to do here, is maximize your potential as being a graphic designer. Now, build quality with Mac is unprecedented. They do a great job, but if you want to get more bang for your buck with specs, the HP Omen is where you want to go. Thank you again for tuning in to this episode about the 4 best laptops for graphic designers. If you've yet to subscribe to this channel, I highly recommend doing so. If this video has helped you at all, hit the like button and comment below if you have any questions. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. I'm Benji Kaiser of BenjiKaiser.com.